All right, we are live. Greetings, fellow traders. Let me get this tweeted out for everybody here so everybody can get joined in. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good. Well, I hope everybody had a great trading day today. Today, we are going to continue our discussion on day trading with Fibonacci with Symmetry. So, going to be a good discussion today. This is a really important topic, so I'm excited about talking about it. We've kind of covered it a little bit in the first discussion. We'll talk about it a little more in a little bit before we get started here. Everything we're going to talk about today is for educational purposes only, not investment advice, so please take a moment to review this disclaimer. All right, awesome, awesome, awesome. Let's check and see where we're at in the market here. So we can see that we've hit fresh all-time highs today. So it's a little bit kind of, you know, fresh all-time highs, but it would nice to be a nice green candle today. We got an upper shadow today with a kind of a red shooting star here, so we'll see how that ends up playing out into tomorrow. It's not exactly the type of candle you want to go long on, so we're not exactly at the point where we want to go short either because we are still bullish until proven otherwise. But we do have some gaps below, so we'll see what it wants to do, what they want to do with it. So let's take a look at the 15-minute chart today. Again, it was a little bit kind of all over the place. We had a 15 orb at the beginning, a little bit of a pop at the open, and then boom, a quick move down, right inside 15 back into the range, and then this here was kind of like your kind of key move right here for a push down to the lows of the day. Now, these lows of the day, we pointed out on our live stream to our members how to catch this falling knife, and it gave actually a nice move to the upside right here. We showed how the 3320 SPX expiring today options, the calls, went from about $2.50 all the way up to just over $6. So just on this little move right here. So it's pretty cool stuff. Just little tactics for trading intraday with the SPX. These are the levels that we provide to our members before every market open. So let's see. Let's check out today's. All right. So you can see how well these levels end up playing out, right? So we gapped up today, had a nice opening candle, which pushed us to the next level. Right, kind of once we get to that level, we want to see how the price acts around that level. It got a little bit strong over here, but kind of reversed, right? Try to get above it, and then look at this big outside candle right here, which pushed us down to the next levels, right? So this candle right here couldn't break below it, right? So we tested between these levels right here, tried to break below a bunch of lower shadows, hung out a little bit. Nice candle right here, which pushed us below some of these resistance zones right here, support zones, and then pushed down the next levels. And this is where we jumped, where we bounced into the close. We came to a really, really big. Just like we talked about the other day, we talked about these, confluent zones, right, where everything kind of ties together, and just like we talked about the other day, the price cluster down here. So we had a nice cluster of levels, right, and we got a nice bounce off of that today. So a couple other tactics we used to kind of show where that bounce came from, and then gave her a nice move on SPX at the end of the day. So that being said, today we're going to continue our discussion on Fibonacci, and we're going to be talking about symmetry. So let's get started on that one. So with symmetry, it's pretty cool, right? So there's a couple of things that you could do, and you know that you're trending in a certain direction. And one of the ways you can do that, of course, is with trend lines, right? But if you can kind of get an idea that, hey, the direction is going in a certain way, usually you can do that by looking at your longer term time frames, right? You have a big candle like this way, we're trending down, right? That type of thing, right? So one of the things we look for is symmetrical moves, right? We looked at this when we were talking about projections today. You can kind of see this a little bit here on the SPX, right? So it does help where you can draw essentially a line. This is your first line down. So when we're trending down, we look for a pullback that is essentially equivalent to this one right here. So this one, I don't necessarily show that. This one, really, really close, right? And so the cool thing about symmetry, right, is that when we combine it, right, it becomes a setup when we combine it with some of the Fibonacci levels that we were talking about yesterday at our price cluster. So what we want to do with symmetry is we want to try to find a price cluster to see if anything matches some of these levels. So again, remember a price cluster, all you need is three different levels that kind of correspond with each other. So here you can see we have a 50% retracement from high to low right here. You could also look for extensions. So as long as any one of these three kind of give a some confluent zones right here. You can see here we've got the 50% retracement. We have a 161.8 extension, right? And then let's see, we go here. Obviously that's not going to bring us there. So even if we just did 100% retrace to this one, right, we can see we get some major confluence. Here's your 100% zone right here. So you can see this support became resistance in this area. So we had 1, right, 2, right, and then 3. Okay, so once we get rid of all these Fibonacci levels, we can see we had a cluster, right? And we also had symmetry. So at this point, we would look for these short setups, right? We'd look for an opportunity to try to break below these levels right here. So now most traders, who day trade don't use the levels that we use or don't necessarily have these levels, right? But what we do know is that these levels are still important. So we don't necessarily want to short right away, but we can see that we got a little bit of a tweezer top up here, a little bit of a on these 5-minute charts, on 5-minute candles, right? And finally, when we got this candle right here, it showed that we wanted to get low, and so we could actually short with this. So just to kind of give you an idea of how SPX looks right, into the close, we could look at an at the money or an in the money call or put. So we'd look at the 330s. So this candle occurred. So right after this candle right here, we'd look at like 1505. So we'd look at the .SPXW. 2001 today was 22, so puts. So we'd look at the 3330s. So right at 1505, let's see what the puts did. Okay, so at 1505, we would be looking to enter somewhere in here. So we would have entered probably, keep a stop either here or here, so $2.86. So an entry somewhere around $4.50, so with a 2-point stop. But, if using those techniques, we can see here they went from $4.50 all the way up to $9.80 just in 5, 10, 15 minutes. So pretty impressive stuff using this, using these techniques, right? So it's a really helpful tool when you can sense that you're going a different direction, whether or not a real reversal is happening or whether or not we have a potential resistance zone, and we just look for confirmation with our candles to see if we can get continuation in one direction or the other. So really, really cool stuff there. Another example that we could take a look at here, which I think is really helpful, is here's the 1-minute chart. Now let's take a look at Boeing today. Boeing was another one that was pretty interesting. Okay, so Boeing, right, generally we knew Boeing, had a pretty weak day yesterday, right? And so we would expect if we could break down below, certain levels, but especially below the real body, right, we would expect some lower movement, right, at least to test the prior day's lows. So when we can see that the price action is warning this, especially a 15-hour breakdown, right? Let's go to the 1-minute chart here and kind of, start to look and see if anything makes sense in terms of symmetries, right? So here's what we got. So pretty cool stuff, right? So here's kind of your first thrust down, and then you have your first pullback. So you make a line basically from here to here, right? And so then we just duplicate that. We wait for the next pullback. Here we go. Look at that. Nice symmetry in these areas. Let's do another one. Duplicate here. Symmetry. Look at that. Beautiful stuff, right? These help us either determine whether or not we want to stay in a trade. If we can break beyond the symmetry level, we might want to be careful. We can see we had upper shadows here, so we can still be like, okay, be confident in the trade, right? Or give us an opportunity to re-enter if the trend is still going. So we can see we had these symmetries there. So another thing we might want to do too is get our Fibonacci clusters up, right, to see if anything makes sense. And you don't have to use the exact same day. You could use, say like here to here. Oops, that's symmetry level. 1 second. Go here to here, right? And so you can start to see that we have this, right, the 23.6 to the 0.618 right here. So you have one cluster. Another one we could look for is an extension, right? So you can go like here, right to here. Oh, seeing a nice cluster right here in this area. That's 2, right? We could try another one here, even 100% retracement right here. So there we go. So we've got 1, 2, 3 clusters right in this area, right? So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, plus we have symmetry. Okay, plus we have symmetry. So we can see that this could be a potential resistance zone. Plus we have a symmetrical line. We have some symmetry here off of this recent pullback. And we can see that this area right here is a little sloppy, but we can see here it could be a resistance area based on the Fibonacci's. We have a symmetrical area, some symmetry, and then we could look to short that off of these areas off of a confirming candle, possibly with this one. It's a strong downward candle. We're seeing some good volume coming in there and for a nice move down here on Boeing. So when you see something trending, right, this is an effective tool to use to try to estimate potential support and resistance areas. And of course, using symmetry gives you that pullback to those areas. So that's some really good stuff there. And of course, you could use this on any time frame. So just as an example here on the daily with Boeing. Right. So one of the things we recently looked at here was, we just drew this channel. Where did that channel go that we drew today? Is it here? We can draw a fresh one. If they don't want to do it, if it doesn't want to do it for us here automatically, let's get a channel on this. Here. Right. to here, right? So you can see what's going on with Boeing right here. So we're kind of, you know, encased in this channel, right? So a couple of things you could do too as well on the daily chart for, you know, swing type trades. Here's your first, you have your big move down here after the big, Boeing issue right here is your first pullback right here. There's your first symmetrical level, right? You duplicate that, you wait for the next pullback. Oh, there's one right there, right? And that actually gave another good pullback. Here's another one, duplicate here, another one for another potential pullback. But this one actually never broke down below those levels. If you go here, you can see it just kind of held these levels, never gave any confirming candles. It worked its way up to what eventually became the top of the channel here, right? So after this first symmetry, you look at the second one right here, and you could do, you know, multiple ideas, right? So there's you know, for instance, you know, you could go maybe this level to this level, right? You can see your right here, you know, close to the 23.6. You try here to here. There you have the 50% retracement, right? And you can do an extension here as well. Here, maybe even to here, right? You can see we have 1, 2, 3 levels of symmetry here. 1, 2, 3, right? Remove the Fibonacci's so it doesn't clutter up the screen. Now you have a cluster area. So if you're swinging this thing, right, and you have your cluster zone right here, you also have a symmetrical line, right? So you look here for opportunities for a short setup. So we would look for, there we go, there's your candle right there. So you look to short off of that one. So you're here at 361, and then we would look to take that down pretty decently, right? So you get a little bit of a move here from 361 down to 347. So almost a 20-point move off of that one, right? Eventually came back, retested those levels again, and then pushed down all the way to 318. So almost a 40-point move total. So again, another possible re-entry area because you could use symmetry here. Just like that. Okay, and gave another move down here. Nice confirming candle with some follow through to the downside. So really effective tool. I hope you guys find that helpful. And at this point, if anybody has any questions or chart requests, please feel free to plug those in the chat window, and we'll get through as many as we can. We'll try to wrap up as early as possible too, so everybody can get a good night's sleep, and we can have another awesome trading day tomorrow. So, Scott Huff, what's going on? Long time no see. So let's see. Let's take a look. So you've got a couple of chart requests right here. So you like SPCE. Okay, so yeah, so we've been tracking this one for a little bit right here. It had a nice pennant move, right? Inside day, breaks to the upside with huge volume and gets nice follow through today. So where's this thing going? Who knows? But it's got a lot of volume behind it. So let's see if it can continue to the upside. And then Beyond. Beyond was good. Beyond was a nice overnight idea that we had yesterday off of a strong candle with increasing volume as well. And it gave a nice push to the upside today for a good move, approximately 128 all the way up to 135 for those of you who like 7-point moves. And then basically found resistance where it found resistance prior, right? So we had a closing gap up here that got filled. It tried to retest those levels, couldn't get above it, and then ended up with a red spinning top on this. So we have a prior gap level right here, which may be tested. We'll see if that holds as support. And if not, we may break down, test the cloud, try to get the other end of that double inside day down here for a test of the cloud bottom, and we'll see where that goes from there. We have a couple other levels below. Otherwise, we may see some consolidation, and if we continue to see some increased volume on this one, it may try to work its way back up some more. Steven, what's going on? HD. Let's take a look. HD with a nice move, right? So we saw that we had this little bit of a flag forming right here, right at the cloud. We gapped above it the next day, right? Formed a really strong candle right here. And then closed above it again with increasing volume and gave a really nice move up here. And did it fill the gap? Let's see, low 236.76, high 236.53, really close, 20 cents off of filling the gap, but gave a nice move for us. And unfortunately, they found a little bit of rejection right there and gave you an upper shadow with a pretty big shooting star. Not a lot of volume on it, so we'll see if it comes back down, retest some of these levels, and then consolidates again for another attempt at a move up. And then we have TER. Yeah, big move today on Teradyne. So we can see here, fresh high, fresh trend line. High trend line. And we can even pull this thing back a little bit right here. So it's definitely trending up really nicely. We've got a little bit of a bump and run working here to here. So again, bullish until proven otherwise. Nice volume today. And again, we have volume after the close today. So it looked like one that you'd want to swing. And then I guess apparently it probably would have been a good idea to do that. So got some nice follow through today. Again, it's a binary event, but it looks like it's going to be gapping up to 82 or so tomorrow. So this one might be a good gap and go candidate kind of going into tomorrow as well. So I'm going to actually add that here to the 15 orb list. And we'll look at that as a potential gap and go tomorrow. So that looks great. Good stuff there. And then Costco. bullish until proven otherwise. Don't even have to look at it, right? So Costco had a real nice move yesterday, right? It closed in the upper end of the range, hit an all-time high today, and appears to still be holding the upper end of that range. Again, nice breakout move on Costco. Now, the one thing with Costco is it likes to chop for a while after a big move. So let's see if it kind of moves sideways here to the trend line, and then tries to work its way up from there. Good stuff. And then Scott, you got a couple more. All right, so let's see. Let's take a look at Twilio. Yep, still consolidating here below the 200-day moving average. And you've got, what else? Vive. Okay, yep, Vive kind of hanging around the 50-day moving average, looking a little sloppy in here. Good. Manesh, what's going on? Cat. Yeah, so Cat had a real nasty day today, right? Actually, the volume really picked up on this thing. It was more than we looked at when we were live at the close. This is pretty bearish kind of going in today. It has a strong close into the cloud, right? It's already got past dividends. It's got earnings coming up pretty soon, but pretty bearish right here. You got a couple levels here. You got an open gap right here. So these levels might get tested pretty soon. So again, that should probably go on the bearish radar for tomorrow. Looking pretty weak there. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Okay. And Netflix and Tesla. Yeah, so Netflix, after earnings today, really didn't end up doing too much. All it did is come down to the 200-day moving average. It wasn't too far away. The ATR, the range today was only 12 points. We had more range on this day, right, where it just kind of broke out and gave a breakout move. So it's just basically being Netflix today. Had some pretty good volume today, and kind of pushed down a little bit. Let's see if it consolidates down here and starts to build. I think technically, fundamentally, I think it's probably still pretty flawed here, losing subscribers and all that stuff. So we may see it work its way down to the trend line here, and then possibly down to the cloud after that. But again, let's kind of look for some setups. We had a lower shadow, and it held these other kind of support areas right here. And then Tesla, good old Tesla. Big move today, right? So again, this is pretty much what we were looking for here. We're looking for a couple tests of these levels and a bounce, and we got a big bounce today for sure. So gave a nice gap up, big push to the upside and came back down. Nice upper shadow today with a spinning top close, big volume. So let's see what it does. So it was pretty good. The upside today gave you a little hammer up here over the 15 orb up, right? And then it gave you kind of this ascending triangle. It could have been a pennant. Could have been a pennant if it broke to the upside, but it didn't. Right, give you an inside 15 down, right? Then got back into the 15 orb range and kind of chopped around there into the close today. So that's what kind of gave you the spinning top finish. So let's see what it does. It might fill the gap. Might come back and test this guy here. Might come back and test this guy here. Right, and of course we have the open gap below now, so we've got a couple levels that we could be dealing with coming up. So, but yeah, looking pretty interesting right here. Kind of tough either way until we can get some price action guidance going forward. Katie, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. MS, let's take a look. So Morgan Stanley, after earnings, big gap up here. It seems to be defending the gap pretty well here. So a little bit of an upper shadow today. So let's just kind of see if it gives us any sort of setups, if it can hold this, right? See if we get a little bit of a bigger trend line or some sort of breakout, some consolidation and a nice move on that one. And then just kind of keep an eye out there. It's got ex-dividend coming up too. MOC 420, what's going on? Bubble time. How about BAC? Let's take a look. Ooh, kind of a 50-day moving average catching up to it here with an inside day, holding some of these previous levels of support. So let's see. I'd like to see it take this inside day up off this kind of doji and give it a little move up. Got a couple gaps to fill up here. You got this guy and you got this guy. So let's see if it can build some strength from there. Paul, good evening. Nate, what's going on? Good to see you. Amazon and Shaq. Yeah, so Amazon, kind of an interesting follow through, right? Still holding its upward trend line right here. Yesterday had a big day, off of its Amazon pharmacy listings in Europe. So today got a little bit of follow through, not as much volume on it, but kind of came up, tested the prior inside day high, kind of did its job today, tested some prior levels, and it's holding its trend line. It gave a weak close, but kind of is what it is at this point, right? And so Shaq, upper shadow, it's trying, guys. Remember, we want a big close over the 200-day moving average, right? And then eventually try to pop its way out of the cloud. That's right, yeah. Amazonius, that's right. Try to explain to your wife. That's so funny. Who is Bubblehead? I know, exactly, right? So it's like, sometimes, I joke around about other folks on Twitter. I'm like, I can't believe anybody's listening to it. And here I am, like, calling myself Bubblehead with, like, a Lego figure. It's like how... Yeah. Anyway, good stuff. But good stuff, Nate. Well, yeah, great charts. I really appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in. Ernesto, what's going on? Boeing. Let's take a look. Yeah, so Boeing again holding these levels here. Let's see. They're propping this thing up. Huge volume today. My guess is at this point this thing is just completely fundamentally flawed. Earnings might be a good opportunity. Maybe they'll give it a rip up into earnings so all these institutions can try to get out before earnings. I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do with it, but let's see what earnings has in store. It seems like every rip is going to be shortable, just because it seems like anytime you get over the VWAP on this thing, probably institutions will probably try to unload. I just don't see any. I don't see how they're going to get out of this whole thing. So LMT kind of hanging out there, drifting up nicely off of this pennant. Again, with kind of war news, going on, it may still kind of continue to hold these levels. It also has earnings coming up too, and both are pretty heavily weighted in the aerospace ETF. So we'll keep an eye out for that one. Cool one. What's going on? Good to see you, man. Let's see. So CRWD. So CRWD, yep, kind of doing what we were looking for. We're looking for a move up, maybe a pullback, and then another move again. Again, I just want to see a strong candle over these levels here, but it is, grinding its way up for sure. And then QCOM. Gosh, I had such a strong candle the other day. Inside day, very, very disappointing move down today to take an inside day down, but it is holding this prior resistance and support right now. So let's see if it does that. You have a little gap below that it might want to test too. Then you have this other prior resistance as another possible level. But again, this was the candle that it needed to kind of show some strength on. So hopefully it'll hold up these levels and then eventually give you a breakout over those levels for a nice new push beyond those highs. So good stuff. And Zen. Right? Okay, so Zen, we tried, right? We drew this just the other day, right? We want to get over these levels right here, and it tried today, but it couldn't close above it. It gave you an upper shadow. So generally, it's rejecting these levels right now. So just have to be careful with that, right? It does have a nice gap above that it could target once it does close above it, right? But we really want to see a nice candle here with increasing volume to try to work its way up. We've got earnings coming up relatively soon. So good stuff. Cigar, what's going on? LK. So LK... right, lots of big volume coming in here, right? Kind of been pushing this thing up, just grinded its way up today. But some more volume came in today and said, nope, right? Try a little bit lower here. So we got a couple levels that may want to test. Here's kind of your next one right here that was a little bit of support. Then you had the prior resistance right here that may form a support as well. So something to keep an eye on today, but definitely one that nobody wanted to hold today for sure. A Ward, what's going on? Shop. Yeah, fresh all-time highs today on Shop. Right, big upper shadow. I don't know. You can try to keep calling tops on this thing. Up, each upper shadow is like up, all-time high, all-time high, all-time high, all-time high, all-time high. It's like, oh, okay. Is this it? Is this the one? Is this the top? Who knows, right? We're still bullish here until proven otherwise, right? We got a couple trend lines, 1, 2, 3 trend lines here that it's still holding, right? Until we can at least get a breakdown below one of these things, we really don't know yet. But big volume on it today, or good increasing volume today. Apple, kind of similar. Kind of feel like a broken record. Oh, all-time highs, all-time highs, all-time highs. But these all-time highs are just like, okay. Right? So it is holding, multiple trend lines. It does have earnings coming up, right, in 6 days. So that's something to keep an eye out for as well. And Roku. Gosh, Roku is just struggling all over the place, right? We had a nice candle back into the cloud today, and today it basically rejected the 50-day moving average zone and came back down below the cloud again. Kind of relatively meh volume, but you still have these kind of support levels below as well. Okay, Matthew, good evening. Thanks for tuning in, man. Cloud Guy, what's up? Yeah, we got a couple Cron. Again, still consolidating, right? Still in the congestion zone right here. So we want to keep it on the inside day. Could try to take the inside day up. CGC, group leader. Still kind of forming this pennant. It's at the lower end of the pennant right here. Gave you a lower shadow. So let's see if we can give a strong candle, get out of this thing, and try to work its way up. That would be nice. And DDD, 3D printing. 3D systems. Cool. So yeah, kind of flagging up here a little bit. So just definitely something to keep an eye on. A little bit of an upper shadow today. See if it tests the low end of the flag. Tries to give it a bounce. Most important thing here is if it defends this gap. But it has had some strength recently. Good stuff. Ryan, what's going on, man? Good to see you. AVGO. Yep. So Broadcom tried today. Gave a nice move over the 50-day moving average, and then upper shadow right off the top of the cloud. So good stuff there. See what it does. Has left an open gap below. Right above the fib fan line, right below the 50-day moving average. Again, we wanted to see this thing close a little bit stronger over the cloud, and then maybe try to test a couple of these levels above. We have an open gap up here. That could be a potential target on it. Good. And HD? Yeah, so HD, again, really had a lot of strength on this one. Really started to work its way up, right? Nice little, flag type pattern forming here. Basically, the bottom was formed by the 50-day moving average. Nice gap up and above the cloud with increased volume, and you got some nice follow through on that one. And again, the upper shadow today pretty much corresponds with just missing this, this gap fill up here. So, So we'll see. They got some buying pressure on that one today. See if it gets any fall through the downside. Not as much volume as yesterday or the day before, but definitely worth keeping an eye on that topping tail. MTN, what's going on? Fedex. Yep. Let's take a look. So Fedex, yeah. So this one ended up closing below the 50-day moving average today, right? So not as much volume as the day before, but a little bit from the prior day, right? So we got a couple levels down here that it might be interested in testing. So let's keep an eye on Fedex just in case the market gets weak. And then UVXY. Okay, continuing to be suppressed here as is in its nature. At one point we were interested to see if we could get above that trend line, but it still is continuing to work its way back down here. So again, let's see if we can get above this, close above there, maybe it'll test from 50 moving average, get up to the cloud. That type of thing. But otherwise, still seem to be pushing it down. CB, yeah, Pacey, looks like it got added to the S&P 500 tonight. So doji day today, which is probably going to turn into a pretty big doji sandwich if you go after it. Got a big spike here. Everybody's happy about it being on the S&P 500. So it's up to 319 right now. So, we're looking at maybe a possible gap up here. So definitely a huge doji sandwich up. Super all-time highs. This thing's had an epic run up here. Like a little bit of a pullback. Oh, we have some symmetry here. Looks like it. Boom. Yep, a little bit of symmetry right there, right before it decided to move back up again, right? Just following trend. So it held the 200-day moving average and gave a nice pop here once it got over the 50 and the 200, and then now it's on the S&P 500 and it's going to be up in the that 319, 320 area tomorrow. So pretty cool stuff. TuneFed, what's going on? Intel, yeah, earnings after the close tomorrow. That should be a good one. Had a huge day today. I love today's candle on Intel. If we go here. Right, big move on Intel. Intel typically doesn't move like this except for earnings. So that was a big day for Intel, right? The chips, like the semis did pretty well today. So again, tomorrow we'll see, right? So IBM got a big spike. Let's see if Intel gets a spike off of earnings. Who knows, right? So something to look at right there. But really, really strong day today. MTN, RSI convergence on Apple. Let's take a look. So, yeah, we're seeing like a little bit of a bearish divergence right here. So it could be. So let's see if that is an indicator for a possible move down. That could be something. Good catch on that one. Yeah, I got you on that one. Yeah, you're good. Good. Yeah, so we'll see. That's a good eye on that one. Let's see what it does. Of course, if it spikes up again, that'll blow that out of the water. We'll see how it goes, right? So, Tracy, what's happening? SPCE? Yeah, let's take a look at that one. So, this thing has just been crazy, right? We had this level right here, closed above it nicely with increasing volume, got to the next level, closed above that with increasing volume, a little bit of a pennant right here inside it, and this thing just keeps on going, right? They're buying this thing up, right? Today was huge, right? Today was huge. Big volume on this one. I don't know what's going on with this thing. It's possible maybe it's going to be a buyout. Maybe Tesla is going to buy it or something like that. Why not, right? Are there any rumors, or am I the only one who's like saying that's a possibility? Anyway. So we'll see. See how it goes. But really, really good stuff. Wendy, good morning. Hope you're having a great day in Singapore. Hope it's a wonderful, beautiful day there. Any charts for this evening or this morning? So we're just wrapping up here, but if you have a few, I'd be happy to go through them. Here we go. All right, so we got IBM. Yeah, nice move today on IBM, right? So first time it's like really gapped up decently on earnings in a while. Right, so last time it was a gap down and all that stuff. Basically got back to where it was previous earnings. Pretty boring stuff on that, right? We wanted to see a gap and go, but we couldn't clear this level well. We definitely couldn't clear this level, so we just kind of ended up with a spinning top today. Now it's kind of floating around in space, so let's see what it's got in store. It's really going to have to probably consolidate, build some energy up here, establish a fresh base off of this prior gap, right, and then try to work its way up from there. And then NEO was another one. That was pretty disappointing today as well. But as usual, right, it has been struggling, right? But it did finally get above its downward trend line that we've been stalking for a while. Here, all the way from 13.8 back down here. And it did that the other day, right? Had a nice gap up above it, and then got a big push. Then it got another gap up today, and then they kind of slammed it back down again. So, yeah, so nice move on that. Anyone who's been following NEO, really good stuff today. Nice follow through. And then Shack with a couple upper shadows right here. Again, we want to see it close to the 2-day moving average. Possibly might wait until it gets to the cloud for another move up. But really, after this this trading range, right, this accumulation zone, right, they might still be trying to work on a markup on this one here. So that could be pretty cool. And then SQ, upper shadow today, been kind of playing the strings. Let's see. I think it had some news after hours that gave it a little bit of a spike. Something like it was a notable mention or something like that for technology. But again, upper shadow today. So let's see how that carries into tomorrow. Kind of some that's the big consideration. So good stuff. All right, guys. Well, I really appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight. I think it was a great discussion on symmetry. You can apply that on any time frame, and I think it's great if you're a day trader to look at intraday, especially if you can sense a trend. But like maybe you got some FOMO and you're like, oh, I don't know if this is a pullback or not. Just pull out the symmetry on it and then throw out some Fibonacci lines to build some confidence in it, and you might be able to catch a pullback or a snapback on it and get a good trade in. So I hope that you guys find that helpful. And definitely, if you're new here, definitely click subscribe on YouTube and also hit the like button too. We appreciate that from everybody. And if you haven't checked out the links in the description, also check out those too. So I hope everybody has a great night and an awesome trading day tomorrow. We'll see you guys in the morning. And of course, tomorrow is Thursday. So we'll see you tomorrow night too, where we'll wrap up this discussion with a pretty cool setup. And I hope everybody has a great night. And remember your risk first and stay safe so you can stay in the game. And I'll talk to you guys soon.